to give me an idea. About 14 of us, is that right? I think it's about 14, but it doesn't really matter. I just thought it's good to have an idea in terms of the dynamics in the interaction, in terms of the questions and the discussion that takes place. Welcome to the speed mentoring session. We are delighted that some early career women will share a bit about their career experience and their journey to get there. After they've had their time, we'll open up to some questions from you as students. So can I encourage you to get thinking and typing in the chat, be preparing when you hear a little from each of our mentors. At this time, I'm going to invite each of my mentors to introduce themselves, and I'm going to give them a limit of about 3 minutes. Pull your skirt if it goes on, or trouser leg if it goes on much longer, but about 3 minutes. So can I start with Sarah? Sarah, you're the first face I can see. When you're ready, approximately 3 minutes. I'm not timing you, but I'll be keeping my eye on the clock.
Please give me a shout if I do talk too long.
Okay.
Hi everybody. Thank you first and foremost for inviting me here today. I'm so excited to be here amongst this amazing group of students and ladies inspiring us so far this morning. So I just wanted to give you all a little bit of a background as to my own kind of career. I hope it's informative and it gives you a bit of a taste of what kind of jobs are out there today. So my role is that I work for the footwear brand Dr. Martens, or Doc Martens, some people refer to them as. So lots of different people have their own name for the brand. But my role at Doc Martens is that I am looking after the social media for the brand. So for me, a typical day could look anything like creating content for TikTok, or perhaps organizing a live stream on Instagram where we share some kind of music performance or content footage through the channel. So I feel very lucky to have this kind of role in this career, because it's an area that I was always very passionate about when I was growing up. As soon as social media became a big thing, I really understood that this was an area that I was very interested in, and I wanted to look at making my career in, because it tied my passion from my own personal life into what my job could be. I did many different kind of internships and placements. I looked for college courses and university courses that focused on this area, which allowed me to upskill in the kind of in the space, so that I could get some school learning as well as real life career learning. And another reason why I went into this role is that music is a big passion for me. And when I was starting to kind of look at roles and jobs that I would look for, Dr. Martens is a company that has a very big kind of music background. So I knew that if I went into this career, I'd be able to think about how I could again work within that space. And that's one of my favorite parts of my job, is working with musicians to create content and create opportunities to share their music through the channels. And yeah, just thinking about, and I'm sure we can get onto this as we go through some of the questions, but you know, as some of the advice that I would give to myself when I was 13 is to really use this time to kind of think about what sort of things you love to do. And I think some of the ladies earlier on did a really good job of saying, you know, if you find that you have a skill in a certain area, you know, really dig into that and understand what it is you like about that kind of type of work that you could potentially do. Because your career and your future is something that you've got a lot of time to invest in it. I'm probably going to have to work for the next 35 years. So I want to ensure that, you know, what I'm doing now is what I actually find a purpose in and where I find value and enjoyment. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm really excited to kind of take any sort of questions later on. Thank you.
That's lovely, Sarah. That's 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Thank you very much.
Not too bad.
Thank you. I've got a question. You said something about music, but now is not the time. So we'll come back to you on that. And so can I encourage our young ladies to be thinking about questions that they might have for Sarah regarding working for Doc Martens? When I think of Dr. Martens, I always think of big shoes and boots, but they might have different questions there for you. Thank you very much, Sarah. Moving on, I can next see Suki. Suki, is that how I say it? Is that how I say your name correctly?
Yeah, Suki. I prefer Suki. My full name's Sukni, but I prefer to be called Suki. So yeah.
Lovely. Thank you, Suki. Over to you. Your 3 minutes, approximate 3 minutes, when you're ready.
So let's start with when I was 13, 14 years old. I had no clue what I wanted to do. So do not worry if you don't have an idea of what you want to go into. I think the best thing to do is look at where your strengths lie and what your passion is. Something, if you're doing something and it literally it ignites a spark in you, try and look at that. So I am a company secretarial assistant. What that means is I basically do company law, but without having a law degree as such. When I was 13, I loved maths. Maths was my thing. I did enjoy English and history, but not so much. I liked the dates aspect, but couldn't really pursue anything in history because it didn't make me that happy, really. Maths was my thing. So then what I did is I went into economics, and I kind of learned about supply and demand. So when a company wants something, well, how many people want that product, for example. And then one of my professors, I kind of fell into company law only because I wanted to be a lawyer when I was a child, but then I never really wanted to have a law degree. But I just thought the law degree was so complex, and I had to remember cases and things like that, which it just wasn't my forte. So I'd prefer doing something mathematically based. So what my job entails is I am basically the link or bridge between a board, so that's the people that run the company. So you have a CEO, a chairman, and directors. So I communicate with them on a daily basis, and then I also communicate with like employees and things, just to ensure that the business is running as smooth as it can. So more importantly, I kind of look after the company rather than individuals as such, or people. I'd say one thing that I struggled with was prioritizing schoolwork. So because I liked maths, I would do so much more of maths than I would of English. So I would like focus on it. And I think one thing that I would suggest is even if you don't like something, keep pushing for it, because you'll find that if you focus on something, you begin to like it. And one thing, like somebody once told me that if you do something you hate every single day, you begin to find a fondness of it. So I used to hate English. I'm sorry. I used to hate my English lessons, but then I began to read every day because I hated it so much, and I did like half an hour reading, and then in turn I ended up loving reading. So now I like read a book every month. So yeah, I think that would be my best advice. But yeah, so I work for a company, I don't know if I mentioned this, I work for a company called Shell. So Shell is a petrol energy company, but most of you would have seen the petrol stations, the big Shell sign. They've been around for years now. And yeah, I think one of the most important things in terms of my role is being passionate about it. So yeah, I think remain passionate is my thing.
Oh, lovely. That's great. Thank you very much, Suki. I'm encouraging our young ladies to be thinking about questions and to be writing them in the chat. Even once just speaking, there might be questions that have come up, things that they're thinking about. But thank you. Haven't seen anything yet, but we'll come back to you. We've definitely got questions. Shell and petrol, yeah, lots to ask about. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Our last mentor that I think we actually have with us today is Katie. Katie, I've seen your name, but I haven't seen your face. And has she suddenly disappeared? Because now I don't see her. Katie, are you here? No, don't see her. She was definitely here, but she's not here now. But that's okay, because these things happen. And so, of course, we think on our feet. All right, then. So, super. Question time, then. I think the other person that we were due to have was somebody called Hetty Walker, and I don't see her either. So it looks like Sarah and Suki, you've got all the Q&A time. How lovely for you.
Great.
Right, so let's move forward with the first question. So Farida has put in the chat and has asked, how was it making the transition from uni to working at Shell? So I think that's for you, Suki.
So for me, do you know what it was? I did, so in university, I did an undergraduate degree in economics, finance and banking. And then I didn't want to be an auditor or go into tax and things like that and just have a boring day job where I'm doing something every single day, what I would have considered a boring day job, where I'm doing something every single day. So I have something new almost every day. I have a board meeting one day, and then I could be talking to somebody from another company another day to deal with the profits of the company or something like that. So I don't see a day which is the same. And I then spoke to my professor, and he was like, do you know what, Suki, you need to do a master's in corporate governance and law, and I think you'd really thrive in it. It means you can practice company law without being a lawyer. So I ended up doing that master's, and whilst I was in that master's, I was applying for roles. I had no idea what I was applying for at the start, because I didn't know what corporate governance was. And then I started my career at PwC, where I joined their governance team. I think the biggest thing that I needed to manage was my time. What I didn't realize is I was in charge of everything. So I had to then learn how to organize my time and prioritizing and learn what my priorities were. And I think that probably was one of the hardest transitions for me, because it was like I didn't have somebody telling me you need to do this. It wasn't like that. It was very much so like, right, you need to pick, this work has come in today, but then you have a deadline for the end of the month, but then something comes in tomorrow and the deadline could be 2 days time. So it was just learning how to prioritize. I think that was one of my biggest challenges. And then at Shell, everything is so fast paced. So like I'll give you an example today. First thing I woke up at start work at about 8:15. I got a message being like, we need to have a board meeting for tomorrow. So yeah, it's just these sudden urges. You just have to learn how to prioritize. I think that was the biggest thing.
Thank you ever so much. That's lovely. I wanted to ask about a mentor, but I leave my question till the end. We've got another question in the chat that says, do you feel like a degree or going to uni was necessary for your career? Do you think going to uni is necessary for becoming successful? So I can see you thinking, Suki, can I hand that to Sarah and then come back to you whilst you're thinking? That'd be lovely. Sarah, are you okay with that question? It's about going to uni, getting a degree. How necessary is it? Or is it necessary at all?
I think going to uni gives you a really good opportunity to not only, obviously the degree is the end goal, but a lot of it is about the kind of skills that you learn whilst you're there. Because you make a lot of new friends, you meet people that you make a big step, I think, from being in school into university. It's quite a significant change. So through that, there's a lot of learning in terms of how you grow yourself as a person. The end goal, the degree, it's definitely important when you're applying for jobs. It does support you with putting forward a really good CV or job kind of application. But I think for my personal career, I found learning through kind of internships, learning through placements just as important as having that degree. So really I saw them as they went hand in hand, neither being more important than the other. It's very surprising as well how much you actually learn when you get into the real working world versus when you're studying. So that's also a surprise. But I think when I think about having a degree. It was mainly the journey of that 4 years that I spent in university, and the way I grew as a person, and all of the different things I learned that helped me when I moved into the working world.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Sarah. So what I'm hearing is that you think it is necessary. It is a good thing to have. But
yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing to have. You'll take so much from it. You'll meet so many inspiring people along the way, and it'll only help you get a better step when you go out to apply for jobs eventually. It's definitely a positive thing to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarah. Suki, I'm going to come back to you, as I said I was, with the same question. And so this question is from Jags. And yeah, it'll be interesting to hear your spin on things.
See, I've got a slightly different perspective. I think it depends what you want to go into. I think in our current generation, we have so many more opportunities for us. I think university can be a bit daunting, especially like the financial side of things. And sometimes, like for example, if you wanted a career in accounting, you want to become an accountant, right? Sometimes you can go to university and do an accounting degree, but you still have to do your CIMA qualification or your ACA qualification. And I've got friends and family who have gone straight into an apprenticeship and then done their ACCA, and they don't have a university degree, but they're thriving in their careers. So I think in terms of where you see yourself going, what you want to do, don't think of university as your only option, because not for every career it's not. There are some careers, like for example, you want to become a doctor, you'll have to go to university, right? You want to be a lawyer, you have to go to university, but university, it provides you with a whole range of skill sets. You learn how to communicate better, you learn how to think for yourself, and you become resilient. Especially like where I moved out for about 4 to 5 years, I learned to be independent. I learned how to manage my friendships alongside learning how to do things, because sometimes you can get carried away with going out all the time or something like that, and then it's just like you have to learn what your priority is, and then I think that helps in terms of your next step in your career. But I think it's a good option, but I don't think for every career path you would need to go to university.
Super. Thank you very much. That's a different answer. I want to go to Sarah while the young ladies are thinking about more questions. I'm just going to encourage them in the chat. Sarah, you said something about music, and there's all this about music and music therapy and the language that everybody understands. Sarah, can you tell us a little bit more about music and your career? Because you dropped something in your 3-minute presentation.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think music is like the common language. It's something that we all kind of, no matter what your interests are, I think everyone has a general interest in music. And for me, it was always a passion when I was younger. I loved kind of learning about new artists and discovering new kind of up and coming musicians. So for me, it plays a really central part of the role that I'm working in at the moment. And having that passion in my personal life, I managed to kind of translate that into the role that I do. So a lot of the work that we do at Dr. Martin's is supporting up and coming new musicians, so young people who are trying to get into music for the first time, and giving them opportunities to have a platform. So through our Instagram channel, for example, we allow musicians to do live streaming, to do takeovers of the channel, and to communicate out to our audience, and it gives them a bit of a profile and a leg up in that space. So yeah, I think it's for me, it was a passion point, and I tried to find a job that allowed me to have that in my kind of career.
Lovely. Thank you. Suki, is there any music in Shell? When I think of Shell and petrol, I think of, as you said, petrol stations. Could you tell us a little bit more? Just while we're waiting for the students' questions.
Of course. So with Shell, so I recently just started at Shell in December, but the culture it's amazing. We literally thrive on mindfulness and different therapies in terms of, like, especially with coping from working at home and things like that. And where Shell is the business is quite fast paced. There's constantly things happening. There's constantly we've got like loads of new projects coming up, and especially like looking for new things to invest in and things like that. But where I think with music, because music plays a big part for me, because I did my piano and I love playing instruments and things like that. So whenever I need to take a break, I'm on my piano. So and that's something that they try to encourage as well. So to try to go for your passions. If you like to do something, then to continue with it. But even like when we're working, so for example, I was working on the annual report the other day, which is a document that every company on the stock exchange releases to kind of show how they're doing each year. And when I was working on that, they encourage you to listen to music. And so sometimes like I would be listening to like classical music, or I would listen to like R&B or hip hop, anything that will just get me through my day. But yeah, and then we kind of like share songs and we do all that sort of stuff. So yeah, the culture is very, very nice. Yeah. So yeah, we use music. Music helps you think.
That's lovely to hear. In the corporate world, that's lovely to hear.
In the corporate world, yeah. Do you know? They do, because music therapies, I'm quite a big advocate for this, because I genuinely believe that, especially with classical music or even acoustic versions of your R&B songs and things like this, so where you don't really hear the lyrics as such, but you hear the rhythm and the melody, it stimulates your mind. It makes one half of your brain work, and then the other half of your brain is focusing on written stuff. And it's so fascinating how it all kind of works together. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know all the technical terms for all of this, but yeah, literally I sometimes, and I think I'm more productive when I'm listening to music. So, and like I could get work done quicker if I'm listening to like acoustic versions of R&B songs that I love, and just that feeling it gives you kind of like ignites the passion. It's like, oh, I love this song, and then it's suddenly like, oh, I can do this. So yeah,
that's lovely. Thank you for sharing. That's great to hear. Yeah. We've got questions coming in, and now we've got less time. Let me go straight to the questions. This is a question for you, Sarah. What opportunities do you think will be available for future employees at Dr. Martens?
This is a great question, because it actually makes me think about when I first started to think about what I wanted to work in. I wasn't really clear that all these opportunities were out there. So when I was younger, I wanted to work in fashion, and I thought the only job in fashion was a fashion designer, because it was the most obvious. But when I started to work in Dr. Martens, which is a footwear fashion kind of brand, I realized that there's every single job that you could do is within, well, for the most part, is within that company. So that we have accounting, we have law, we have marketing, we have product development, logistics. We have all different types of roles to bring everyone to bring this brand out to the market. So it's really interesting to explore all the different types of jobs within even one kind of sector. But I think in the future, obviously we have become very digital focused. Probably it's been accelerated over the past year or so, but now there are so many jobs in like e-commerce, so online shopping, the website, keeping the website functioning, speaking to people through the website. And then in my kind of industry in social media, we are now, very much a core part of people's daily routine. So I'm sure people are familiar with all the social channels like TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat. Like being in this space as well, I think this is going to be an area that will keep growing and keep recruiting in the future.
Super, thank you.
Another one is around sustainability. Because I think everybody, and particularly I know there's a huge passion amongst kind of your age group as well to create a better world in the future. So I think sustainability and making sure that everything that we do has a positive impact on the environment is going to be a huge space to move into in the future.
Lovely. Thinking ahead. Thank you very much. That's super. We've got Jag, another question from Jag. How do you manage work life and your personal life, that work-life balance that we often talk about? What sorts of things do you do to relieve work stress and to not make every day feel the same? Can I pose that to Suki, please?
Yeah,
We've got about 3 minutes, so we're going to just take this question and then a quick summary, if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So I love to do yoga, swimming, sports is my thing. So where we've been in lockdown, and obviously I can't go swimming, I try to do a lot more yoga, or I paint. So I taught myself how to paint. I was really rubbish at art, and then I got to a point where I was like, why can I not draw? So yeah, and then I started drawing, and then I started using acrylics. And do you know what? YouTube and Google are your best friend. That is what I've learned throughout, like, as I've been growing up, that you can learn anything off YouTube. Or Google if there's anything that you want to do. So in terms of work-life balance, I always make sure that I have my lunch. It is in my diary, so it will be blocked out in my diary. And yeah, please do not disturb me during my lunchtime. And then I will always make sure that if I have certain things where I need to work late, I will make sure that I get them done. But I will make sure I'm not working late every day, and I will make it clear to my manager. I'll be like, hi, like, I'm just finding it, I'm a bit swamped at the moment. So is it okay if I just I'm going to be logging off at 5 o'clock today, but I'll pick it up first thing in the morning, just to make sure that he knows. But yeah, they encourage. There's been times where I'll be logged on at 6:30, and my line manager's like, "What are you doing? Why are you logged on? Please, can you log off right away? You can wait till tomorrow." So yeah, work-life balance is a bit, and I think especially with our generation and the way we want to work smarter, we are moving in the right direction for that. So there is a clear, distinctive work-life balance coming into play. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Ladies, we're running out of time. I just want to ask you for just 2 points, lots of talking, 2 key points, takeaway for our young students who are thinking about careers and moving forward. Two